Hi, Bente. It's so lovely to have you here with me today. I met you not too long ago, but when I met you, you were very impressive. You held a presence about you, and you came back to me. You were looking for me because you had had a bit of a phenomena happen. But we got chatting, and we decided that it'd probably be good to have a chat on and record it. So, do you want to tell me a little bit more about yourself and how you got into the work that you got into? And we're going to talk a little bit about the self-empowerment process of dowsing. So, can you start a little bit from the beginning? Like, how did you come across the work of energy, and were you born with it? Did you have an awakening and you decided to study it? Like, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was actually born with it, with an incredibly acute sense of discretion, I guess. I knew when people from a very early age, I knew I was always safe in this world. I knew no harm could come to me. Now, how a toddler could know that, I don't know. Just as at a very, very early age, I had incredible invisible friends, and this is going to sound very weird, but they would come and they would just yammer away in my ears, and a part of me, not the physical me, but the energetic me, would leave my body, and we would go to other civilizations. And the whole time, I would get this download of information about the different civilizations that exist across the galaxy. And of course, that caused problems within my birth family. And so I was assessed at a very early age because they were very concerned about my mental health. What a way to start. And it was found that, yeah, I was actually reasonably intelligent. So to shut me up, they sent me off to school early. And so, like many others, I'm not the only one. This is quite a common thing for many people who come in pretty much awake and then it gets pushed to one side. But I never ever accepted life on this planet. From a very early age, I knew that things were wrong. For want of a better word, I use the word wrong. Nothing felt right. I didn't fit in. I could see the injustice. I could see the and feel the deception. But I, just like everybody else, I did my best to fit in. And it wasn't really until at age 21, I began to really start to wake up. But that focus was largely on health and exercise and correct eating and being really mindful of how I treated the body. So it's not a bad way to start, fitness and health. By my late 30s, I knew I couldn't live the ordinary life any longer. And yeah, I walked away from a relationship. And as soon as I did that, everything flipped for me. And immediately those voices from my early childhood came back. And that was the beginning of my travels from about the age of early 40s until now, many 30 years later. I have traveled extensively. I move where I need to go, where I'm guided to go, where my inner self knows what it needs. But along the way, I really began to listen to the voices, received a lot of guidance on the nature of reality. And then, of course, I learned things like massage, kinesiology, Reiki, energy healing. The list goes on and on. And I found myself living a life very separate from my family, but I knew I had to do it. And in 2002, while I had a thriving practice, I had a mortgage, I was living in the west of Australia, I got the message I needed to go to the US. Now, I didn't really want to go to the US, but it was so strong, and I didn't listen at first. Up until then, I had listened very closely to the voice, but I wasn't listening then. And next thing, my client business started to decline. Wasn't doing as much massage, not as much energy healing, was no longer teaching Reiki. It just went on and on. So I knew I had no choice but to go to the US. And I lived there for 11 years, which was really, really good because by then I was channeling. I was channeling a lot of different entities and energies. I would go into deep state trance and I'd have no idea of what would come out, but people would see my face transfigure. And when I was living in Seattle, that was when my interest in dowsing started. And by that stage, I'd been in the States for several years. I'd connected with a lot of different individuals, and I was busy, really, really busy with my client work. And so the dowsing started to come in, and it sort of brought everything else I had learned up until then together, if that
Mm,
makes sense, because it's easy when you listen to the inner guidance and you know what you know, but
mm,
people that you're working with go, okay, is this for real? So when you begin to do a little bit of kinesiology with them and a bit of dowsing, that's when one's credibility really strengthens.
mm,
So with the dowsing, I spent about 2 years teaching myself very slowly, and at all times I felt very confused because the dowsing would tell me what I wanted to hear from time to time. Other times it wouldn't, no matter how much I would clear myself. And I ended up doing a 5-day intensive course with Dr. Robert Detzler in Seattle or south of Seattle. We worked all day, every day for 5 days. And that was when my skills sharpened greatly. And it's helped my energy work greatly, hugely, significantly, because the more I used it, the more I didn't need it,
yes.
if that
Yes.
makes sense. But I do other things as well. I channeled the energy of Edgar Casey, and I
Wow.
don't know how many people know and understand who Edgar Casey is. I didn't when it happened. Do you mind if I share that story? Because it was
Yeah.
quite an
So,
experience.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes, absolutely. Let's share that story, and then I want to circle back to actually giving people an explanation of what dowsing is, because there's
truly.
many ways to do that. So let's circle back around. But let's, while we're on that topic, talk about Edgar.
Yeah, I think it's important because the dowsing really came in after my introduction to the energy of Edgar. I was having some acupuncture with a gifted shaman friend when I was living in Seattle. And when you have a good acupuncturist, you've got needles everywhere. You're like a porcupine. And next thing, I felt an energy go into my solar plexus and it started to spread out. And I'm going, hell, I can't move. I don't know what this is. So I asked the acupuncturist, Cherie, to have a look. And I can see her clearly even now. She had a pair of glasses on and she lifted them and looked closely and she says, oh, that's Edgar. And I went, Edgar who? And that began the journey. His energy remained within me from 2007 close to 2012.
Mm,
And it expanded within me, created a lot of questioning because I was concerned that it would take over and I would be lost in it, which is a natural, concern one would have. But I also ended up learning a lot about him because I did deep trance channeling. I moved to New York State after that, had that little event, and that was where I did the deep trance channeling. And I was doing it to groups all along the northeast coast of the US, to people who knew his work, who followed his work, and who were quick to say that I had to be a fake and a skeptic. And
Yes.
of course, they couldn't because I would go into a deep trance for 90 minutes.
Yes.
The way that the voice came out was masculine. The expressions were similar to what was written in all of the trance channeling transcriptions, all 14,000 of them that are on record, as well as that my face would transfigure
Wow.
and people would swear it was Edgar. Um, he came in not to talk about health and that sort of thing, which is what he did when he was alive. But he came in, and I knew nothing about him before we connected for all that time, to alert people that we would go through a process of inner transformation and what it entailed,
Mhm.
which is what we're going through now, aren't we? Yes, so this
Yes.
is why I think it's important. And not knowing a thing about him beforehand, what I found that what he came through with was so reliable, so accurate, and was very helpful to a lot of people. I used it because I hosted radio as well while I lived over there and wrote books about it. So I feel as though I've had a fairly rounded career, and nowadays I'm just, enjoying what I do. But to get back to the dowsing, where
Yes.
would you like me to start with that?
Well, we may have to just so when we finish this interview, I would like to make sure that you tell people where they can find your books because that's really important for those that know about Edgar's work. That would be fascinating.
Mhm.
Did you, just while we're on that topic, did you have anyone film you and did you look back on it and realize, oh my gosh, this is what's happening, or did you just sort of disappear and then other people told you what was happening when you were in that trance-like state?
Well, let me put it this way. The first time that I did the deep trance channeling, it was an hour of channeling with half an hour answering questions and me not being in a conscious state. It took me a week to recover. My body depleted completely of vitamins and minerals and nutrients. And a good friend of mine said that 1 hour of doing that was the equivalent of 10 hours physical exercise. And that's what it
Wow.
felt like. But there was no filming. All I did was I recorded everything
Yes.
and I transcribed it and I had a mailing list. Things were very different in those days.
Exactly. There wasn't the technology that we have now, right?
No,
Um,
absolutely nothing like it. You know what?
yeah.
When I think of what I learned on the basics and how I used to be able to run teleseminars, it was so simple.
Yes. And that's, I think, simplicity is key. And sometimes, we've got so much complexity in our lives these days. It's good to
Mhm.
go back to simplicity. But I'm glad you got to do your work while it was simple. Now, tell me, let's go then move to dowsing because essentially
Yeah.
you were tapped in to an energy that
Mm.
had its own persona, its own history, so to speak. So you were sort of just going with the flow. You were being a channel, an antenna for some messages that came through you. Now, tell me how that led to dowsing.
It was more to do with the fact that anything comes up that looks interesting, I dive into. And I get to have the experience of it. And then I go, what's next? That's been my life for so long. It's not that I get bored with things, it's just simply curiosity. And it was a friend who was dowsing, and I went, if she can do it, so can I. A bit of that. And of course, I learned very quickly that I could douse to suit my own needs. This is what I would like to hear. And so I got it. And I'm going, no, no, no. But dowsing is an invaluable skill, and there's a lot more to it than what is taught in many instances. We can all go online and we can all read how to dowse.
Yes.
We can all learn. So for anybody who's never ever dowsed before, this is the instrument that we use. Can you see it there?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful pendulum.
Yeah, it is a gorgeous pendulum.
Yes.
And one of the first things that you've got to do with your pendulum is you have to introduce yourself to it. It has to get the feel of your energy and it has to learn how to respond. Now, the other issue that many, many people find with a pendulum is that it doesn't always tell the truth because their mind, their conscious mind, controls their energy. Whereas to work really well with a pendulum, everything has to come through the higher self or the superconscious. You,
Yes.
you know this as well as I know it. Okay.
Yes.
So for anybody who's ever interested, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to put your energy into the pendulum. You've got to put your energy into it so it recognize it because it's an extension of who
Mm,
you are, just
mm,
like your car is and all your electronics. Your energy goes into everything that you handle. And when you have a good relationship with your car, she goes well. But if you don't have a good relationship with your car, she plays up. And it's the
yes.
same with the pendulum. I know
Yeah.
that's a crazy analogy, but that's how it works.
Well, it's a bit like, let's just give people an example. If let's just say that you go to buy a secondhand car and your fear is that you're going to buy a lemon, right? What happens? Because you keep thinking, oh, I'm going to buy a lemon, I'm going to buy a lemon. You end up getting a lemon.
Absolutely, absolutely. But the more you think it's all good. I'm
Yeah.
excited. It's going to work
Yes.
for me. The more it happens. But
Yes.
the biggest part of dowsing is getting out of your own way, out of your own mind, and connecting with your higher awareness. So anybody who starts to do this work has to really, really be committed because you're not going to learn it in a week. You're not going to learn it in a month. It takes time. What I often say, what I used to do with clients was they'd come in for a big session with me and they would tell me about all the supplements that the naturopath had prescribed. And I'm not bagging naturopaths. The
Yep.
naturopaths do what they do because they've been trained their way.
Yes.
And so they would complain things weren't working. They couldn't feel any different.
Mm,
So I'd say, well, let's muscle test you
mm,
for, whatever it is. Now,
yeah.
with muscle testing, you have to be well hydrated.
Mm,
With pendulum work, being well hydrated goes a long way as well, because when you're well hydrated, your muscles respond honestly.
mm,
If you're not hydrated, everything weakens and you're not strong on the inside. So, with the pendulum, what I say to people nowadays, rather than just using the pendulum, you can. I've done this many times. I've gone into a shop and I've decided I need some more vitamin C or B or whatever it is. No, and I don't have a pendulum with me. I just go in and hold it like this and close my eyes, empty my mind, stand still. My body will start to go forward, which means a yes. If it goes back a little bit, it's a no. If it doesn't move, it means, in my language, you're wasting your money because your body doesn't need it at all. Can you see what
mm.
I'm saying?
Yeah, so you're using your body as the pendulum, as the indicator.
Yeah.
Now, when you say clear your mind, let's talk to um, that a little bit because my feeling, and this is my experience as a practitioner and also somebody who has a curiosity about life and goes in many different directions, how one can unhook themselves from the power of the mind because the monkey mind and it's quite powerful. It tricks us all the time. We've got our lens of life on that's been given to us by society, by our parents, by upbringing. So how do you uncouple from all of that, programming, so to speak, to then get
Well,
to a place of neutrality?
It's a journey, as you well know. It's a journey. It involves deep breath, it involves meditation, it involves also consciously letting go of the thoughts. However, this is another tool for this, and I'm going to give you a demonstration now, okay?
Yes.
And so this is my pendulum. I've trained it to work my way for me. And
Mhm.
when I have it going like this, it's not at 12 o'clock. If you think about an axis or a clock, that's a clock face. This would be a yes, going straight up and down. But I go about 5, 10 to 12. That's where it's neutral.
Right.
Okay. So then I ask the question, may I ask a question of you?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Is Cherie's higher self prepped and clear for work? Straight away, it's going no, because this is how you know. And every time before doing any work on myself or anybody else, I have to ask these questions.
Yes.
Okay, do I have permission to clear Cherie's higher self? Your higher self is saying yes now. And then I say, prep and clear, and just watch it. Should clear fairly quickly, but look at it go.
Wow.
I'm not in charge. Not at all. I'm just simply the person who is doing this. Okay, now yours is cleared fairly quickly.
Thank you.
Okay, is Cherie's higher self prepped and cleared? Notice I check. Yes. Now, do you have any questions you would like a yes or no answer to?
Oh, put me on the spot there.
I know.
Okay. Oh, I haven't really thought about this. Okay. What about doing a vitamin? So I've got some spirulina that I take from time to time. Maybe we could ask about whether this, and I've got some chlorella as well. So maybe we can ask some questions around that.
Okay, well, so what sort of questions? Okay, is it beneficial for your body to take greens such as spirulina? Goes
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Chlorella? Not a strong chlorella.
Okay.
Okay, what
Uh,
about moringa? Goes yes.
okay.
Mhm.
And then maybe we could clarify what would be the best greens because you've got lots of greens, right? You've got spirulina, chlorella, barley grass, wheatgrass, all these things.
Okay,
So,
okay, so how about would a combination of greens be ideal? And it goes straight to yes.
mhm,
Look at that, it's really flying yes now.
yes. Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
And maybe we ask, should it be taken on a daily basis?
Should it be taken on a daily basis? I can hear the yes, no in my head on that one. In other words, does it depend on what you feel in the moment? Yes.
Okay. So use my
Okay.
intuition.
Yes. With your intuition,
Yes.
yes. Yeah. Let me see. Anything else we can ask?
Okay, so maybe we can talk about dose because this is really a great example of how people
Mhm.
can apply dowsing to their lives so that
Yeah.
they don't have to keep outsourcing, that they can actually start to take back the reins of their own wellness and they can
Hmm.
start to really figure out things for themselves.
Yeah. So your higher
So
self is, yeah.
So would it be do I need to take for a daily dose for let's just now you said not so much for chlorella but spirulina. So let's ask for what would the daily dose for me be for the spirulina today?
Okay, so let me see. Would it be okay? I'm going to ask some questions now. Would it be one serving, two servings, or three servings? Can you see? I've literally pointed with my finger. One serving, two
Yes.
servings, or three servings. So some days you'll need to go closer to three when you're very, very stressed. But I'm picking up as well because I can read this. Most days, one, but there will be days when you'll need up to three.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Can you see
And
how this can work?
each serve is usually about 5 tablets for me.
Mhm.
So would you be able to ask, is the 5 tablets per serve the right amount for me?
No.
Okay.
Is it too much for you to have 3 doses of five? Yes. Is it better to spread the five out over the day? Yes.
Okay.
Can you see how it works?
Yes, that's right. So would you get down to the amount? Like, would you say, is it one, is it two, is it three per serve? Or does it, it's going to vary per day,
It's
right?
going to vary per day.
Yeah. So we're literally going to ask the question, okay, today I'm planning to take some spirulina. How many doses do I need today? How many tablets in the serve should I take today?
Yeah, yeah, that's how it works. But you
Fantastic.
can't do any of that until you've prepped and cleared your higher self. You've checked that your higher self is clear. Now, this is just very, very basic. You can ask simple things like, okay, I'm not sure what I wish to do today. I can do this or I can do this, A or B. Okay, which is preferable? So at that stage, A or B, and it might go to number B. So you can do either or. You can do a choice way of asking. Okay. You
Hmm.
can ask just about questions of anything. You can do percentages. Okay. Ask in terms of 100% healthy. May I ask, going from zero, in the imaginary line, zero, 50%, 100%. Percentage wise, how healthy is Cherie's body at this point in time? We're going past 50, we're going to 65, 70, 80. You're pretty much close to optimal health.
What? That's amazing.
You're going about 85%. You get to read it so easily when you do a lot of it. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's amazing. Now, I want to circle back to the whole prepping your higher self. Can you
Hmm.
tell me some of the things that might, like, why do we do that? Like, why would the higher self need to be cleared? Can you explain that a little more?
Oh, absolutely. If you look at the work of Carl Jung and many of the psychiatrists, they talk about the conscious mind, the subconscious, and the superconscious. The subconscious is the programming that sits deep within us and which is like the machine that runs everything for us. It's like all the fears, all the traumas, all the generational and family stuff, all of that sort of thing that sits there in the subconscious. The conscious mind is relates to the daily stuff, but the superconscious or the high is the aspect of who we are that is with us at all times, but we don't acknowledge it generally. We don't recognize it because it sounds a little bit clinical and it's not related to getting the job done, feeding, doing the shopping and all of that. But the higher self is the superconscious, which is where all of our wisdom resides. It is clear. Everything else is murky. The conscious and subconscious are murky because there's trauma memory, there's resentment, there's pain, and there's a whole range of emotions that, go all over the place.
Mhm.
So,
And yet,
yeah.
I think it's important to point out to people that our conscious mind is the things that help get things done, right? Like we have to make
Yes.
decisions, we have to take action. So it's not
Mhm.
like, you can wake up out of bed and go, okay, magically make my day go this way. I mean, we can use our intention, but it's like we still have to get up and do the thing. Like we have to brush our teeth and we have to put our
Yep.
washing on, all these things. The subconscious, from what I understand, is yes, it can have those patterns based on our life experiences, maybe even past life experiences, if that's what you believe. And but then it can be used in some ways for good too, as in when we're driving a car. Firstly, we don't know how to drive a car, so we've got to train our mind how to drive a car, and then our subconscious takes over. That patterning takes over, and we can be,
Mhm.
doing lots of other things while we're driving. We're not paying as much
No.
attention because subconsciously it's programmed in for it to be automatic. So in some ways it can be really beneficial, right? Um,
Yes, but the thing is, the subconscious also has it's like it has little things in it, like a virus in a computer. in a computer program, it'll give a little glitch and it'll screw you up. So, for example, there may be a memory of another lifetime that prevents you from stepping forward and being adventurous when that's what you really need to do. So,
Yes.
may I do a little bit of energy clearing on you?
Yes, please bring it on.
Okay. So, is there anything you can think of that okay, that may be a blockage to your success or
Well, yeah, so I mean, you may already know this, but not a lot of people know the detail. I've been working on a project for over
yeah.
5 years, and it's a film, and the film is on frequency, and I would love, love, love for this project to be really successful and to reach many people and be life-changing for people. So I just want to make sure that there's no energy in me that's going to block
Okay.
that in any way.
So as you've been talking, I've just double checked that you're prepped and ready to be cleared. I'm prepped and ready to be cleared. Okay. So what I do now is I give a command for the pendulum to clear any and all blockages, interferences, vows, oaths, curses, and contracts, anything and everything that will prevent you from achieving your goal in this regard. Now look at it. It's clearing. My hand is still, it's actually moving my hand. It is clearing because there are blockages, there are limitations, and we all hold them.
Yes. Oh,
So this is
100% because the ancestry the patterning that we carry through our genetic line is not just for physical body and shape and eye color and all the rest of it. It's the energetic imprints of our of all of our ancestors coming through
that's right.
us.
And there's a lot of very nauseating emotion in this because I can feel it. I just want to puke.
Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry,
I can feel
Bente.
it. But see, I pick up on what's going on because I've been doing it for so long. Now
Yes.
look, it's slowing down now.
Wow.
So an
Oh my
energy
goodness.
that has been there, that sits there, that has been sitting within you, has now been cleared. This sort of work is like
Thank you.
detective work. You can go in and clear so much,
Yeah.
but I like to do a broad sweep and
Yes.
just not necessarily list all the things because I don't believe it's necessary.
Mm.
Just anything and everything that is holding you back.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And do you combine this with kinesiology as well? Like are you muscle testing as well as using a pendulum? Or have you sort
Not
of migrated to just using the pendulum these days?
just using that, but I also put my intention into whatever I do for the
Mm.
highest and the best for people. The other
Yes.
thing that I also find when I'm doing, because I also do remote energy work, is that we're at such a stage in our own evolution, our own spiritual, energetic frequency evolution, that we're changing so rapidly. Our DNA strands, are rapidly shifting from 2 up till 12. And believe you me, many of us are feeling it. And there's something like this can help just remove the glitches. But ultimately, we also have to change how we think because if we don't change our thinking, we're going to get more of the same and the patterns continue repeating.
Yes. So that was going to be my next question to you. So you did this incredible clearing on me, and I'm so
Mhm.
grateful. We could, it's really important to do this type of work because most
Yeah.
of us are stuck on the physical and, what should we eat today? What diet should we follow? What supplement should we take? Et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of people don't realize that there is this like this history in us, this his
Mhm.
story, yeah, history,
That's
and a lot of that is that's in the unseen, and when we struggle in life, we're trying to, our legs are paddling under the surface, and we're going 100 miles an hour. It might look okay on the surface, but it's like we feel like we're not getting anywhere. Our
Mhm.
goals, our dreams, our desires, our mission, it's not happening. And then this is some of the stuff that that we need that this is the area that we need to go to really clear some of that. Can I ask you, when you do a clearing on somebody, like how long does it usually last for? Is it a permanent clearing of everything that's blocking that particular focus that I gave you, which is the film, or is it like a, well, we need to clear this today, but then we need to come back in a week and just make sure it's stuck?
No, 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 no. I don't work that way.
Mhm.
I've learned from experience that because my hands run a lot of energy and I do psychic surgery remotely. Okay. So
Wow.
I actually do 4 30-minute segments when working with a client and I can feel the energy. It goes straight to the client. A lot of people I know have commented and thanked me for coming to them in their sleep and working on them at night. So three of those, two of those, the first two are clear. I clear using my hands and my intention. I work with their energy field. I clear the outer layer, which is where they have all the stress and all of the emotion.
Yeah.
The second layer, using my hands, we go in deeper into other lifetimes. Then I get the pendulum out and I get down and dirty with it. All the really gritty stuff comes out. And then the last half-hour segment, it's a lot of work for over a few nights. The last half-hour segment is where I balance their energies and just clean it all up. And
Yes.
this work will continue working on them for 6 weeks roughly. I've had too much
Wow.
feedback. Physical health issues can be totally, corrected or
Mhm.
partially. They will improve. Cognition, attitude changes, greater calm, problem solving skills, the whole lot. As
Yes.
well as that, I do also do houses, properties,
Yes.
do it all remotely,
Yes. And
with,
because I'm reading a book at the moment, and this may be another question that we could go and explore a little bit, because I think the more examples we give people,
Mhm.
the more that they can creatively go forth with this type of
Yeah,
therapy. So I'm reading a book at the moment called The Only Planet of Choice by Phyllis Steimler. I don't know if you've come across it,
no,
but it's a lady, Phyllis, in I think started in the 70s, and she ended up being a channel, and she did exactly what you explained. Her voice would change. She didn't know she went into deep trance, and she had many groups of people coming to her asking her all sorts of incredible questions. They ended up capturing it in a book. Now, what she was talking about was the actually the seeding of humanity and some of the ancient cultures that got wiped
yeah,
out on the planet, and for what reason, and all the rest of it. It's a fascinating book, and it's brought a lot of incredible realizations to me about who we are, why we, on different continents look so different. And
yeah,
it's not necessarily through only evolution. Now, Phyllis talked a little bit about it is a combination of both extraterrestrial or other
absolutely.
civilizations in the cosmos coming to
Yeah,
planet Earth and genetically tinkering with us, as
that's
well.
true.
Yes, as well as evolution and as well as
Mhm.
crossbreeding and all these sorts of things. And when you talked about the civilizations, I was like, oh, this is juicy. This is really playing into this book that I'm reading. Can we maybe explore a little bit about, I know a lot of people talk these days about star seeds, about, their mission. My feeling is like, how do you know that you're having just a purely human experience, like having a soul come into a human body just to have the experience of having a human existence? Or if you're maybe from another galactic part of the world, a part of the universe, and that you've decided, planet Earth is really struggling right now, and there's, a big upgrade going on, and I would love to jump in and be part of the team that remembers how to usher this transformation over. Can we maybe figure out like, you know, uh, you know, a little bit about that? Can we explore that?
It's such a complex subject.
Right. Okay. I've given you a
Everything
hard
you
one.
have said is spot on. And I've channeled all of that.
Yes.
But I always come back to the fact that, first of all, we've chosen to be here for a good reason. And many of us have forgotten what that reason is, which means that the workload is heavier for those of us who haven't.
Yes.
Yep, our genetics have been tinkered with. We are basically hybrids. There's no doubt about it. A lot of this goes back 450,000 years or even more. And the thing is, right now we're going through a huge evolutionary leap with this DNA expansion, which is going to change how we are greatly. And I think many of us are really feeling it at the moment. So, a lot of what you said is what I used to ask questions about.
Yes.
And I'd think, oh, because I connected with the Arcturians, the Pleiadians, and all of those at one stage. And
Yes.
I thought, oh, I'm from here and I'm from there. And finally, one day I got fed up with it all. I said, where am I originally from?
Yes.
I heard one word in my head, and that came through from my higher wisdom, and
Mhm.
that word was source.
Yes.
It's as simple as that.
Yes.
And as much as it's really interesting, and I find it fascinating to look at the ancient history, so I think you and I probably have that in common as well. I also recognize that we can get lost in it, and it can
Mm.
be very confusing because there's been so many lies and so much distortion that sometimes we've just got to go back to this is who I am in this lifetime. I've had experiences and memories from other lifetimes. All of them, I am the sum total of all that is there, and yet I'm simply a speck in the sand, an
Yeah.
aspect of the source. So,
I love
I,
that answer. I really do because, I follow Taoist teachings, and,
yeah,
it's really a remembrance of coming out of duality, out of
yeah,
polarity into that zero point, that place
yes,
of the middle way, and really remembering that I am you and you are me, and we
mhm,
are all from the same creation, um, the source, creation, God, whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
And that is always a very good anchor to come back to, because our mind wants to go down all the rabbit holes. And it can be exhausting, and and then it's another layer of our ego identity, not just like
mhm,
Cherie the human being, but oh, Cherie the star seed that comes from this part of
mhm,
the galaxy. So I think that's a
yes.
really good point. Thank you for making that point.
Yeah, I wasn't meaning to correct you, but I've
It's great.
based on my own experiences, I'm only sharing what I understand. But one of the things you just mentioned the mind, and there's a lot of spirituality that's based in the mind, and it's not here deeper in the core essence of who we are. People call it the heart. It's where the essence of who we are resides, and it's so pure and it's so powerful. And we keep thinking that the answers are up here.
Yeah.
And part of the journey is to get back to operating from here through the right side of the brain. Because most people in our culture are left brain. They work with logic, reasoning, and so forth.
Mm,
And when we get to a certain point, if we really are dedicated to this journey, where suddenly we are living fully from the right brain and nothing else makes sense. It's really, really interesting to be in that space and to observe how the left brain works in people.
mm. Mm. And
Because,
having those two hemispheres. So I did a lot of kinesiology and
yeah,
dowsing myself, and this is why we have it share such a kindred
hmm,
energy together to talk about these topics, because
yeah,
I find them so absolutely fascinating and purifying, and just it's self-empowering. And I think this is the place and the time for people to really remember that they are the organic
yeah,
antenna. They're the organic technology,
yeah,
and that we are very, very powerful. And what you're saying is we are, and yet there are still, it still takes some time to master. And it's very
Mhm.
important to train and practice and have that neutrality about you, because a lot of the time, this is when you start off with dowsing, you, like you said, you want, there's certain answers that you're invested in, right? And if you don't
Yeah,
get the right answer, you have to be so brave and so courageous to be able to go against what your what you think is going to be the right thing for you, right?
yeah.
Because there's a bigger
Mhm.
picture going on that you may not see. And people can get quite overwhelmed if it's like, well, you got to move. Well, I don't want
Yeah.
to move, like you said, but you moved. And how do you feel about that move now? Do you regret that, or are you happy that you did
Oh,
that move?
not a, I'm so grateful that I
Yes.
have moved so many times, that I have been to so many countries, lived in so many states of Australia. But it's about stepping outside the comfort zone. And I'd love to share an experience with you, if I may. And this goes back to the 90s, way back in the 90s, when for some, we all know that the word is powerful. What you speak has an energy, and it can build you up or it can destroy you. It is the most powerful gift I believe that we have, is the voice. And anyway, in a moment of exasperation, I don't know what prompted it, but I know I was exasperated. I said loudly to the universe, because I do talk to the universe, and I said, I release with love all that no longer serves my highest good.
Wow. It's a biggie.
Four days later, I was as sick as a dog. And I couldn't, I was going, what have I done? What have I done? My body went into a massive purge. And afterwards, I felt fantastic, light, clear. And I went, oh, I needed that. And I sort of said to some people, why don't you give it a go? Why don't you say consciously that you are ready to let go? That, let go of all things that no longer serve your highest good. It's a simple command.
Mm,
And along with intention, we use this, but intention goes with this. But intention also can go with our every statement. I command, I am, I do, I choose. Not I may, or I think, or I try, but everything comes down to the word. So even when working with any type of dowsing instrument, it's always very important to be clear about the language.
mm. Can I ask you a question? That is it's a beautiful point that you make, being very clear. I think clarity
Mm.
is one of the most underrated things, because we can
Yeah,
so easily become wishy-washy. Our energetic boundaries are not strong and clear, and to be able to make decisions in a world where we have like just an abundance of choices to make,
yeah.
that can be so overwhelming. Uh, can I ask you, how do you like? I know that you work with a pendulum. Now, there are other ways to dowse. So, you've talked about your body, using your body as an indicator. You've
Mhm.
talked about, and I just want to go back a little bit, because I think it's really important that you explained with using the pendulum that you're calibrating your energy to whatever you're using. So
Yeah.
if you use a pendulum, you pick it up and you're infusing your energy, but you're also asking it to tell you what the answer is. So you need to know what is yes, what is no. That needs to be a nice clear answer. Um, have you played with anything like the dowsing rods, or are there other ways or techniques that you know of, or is it just a couple that are really nice and clean and clear?
For me, this has been very clean and clear, but I'm interested in the dowsing rods. I've never used them. I've never felt the need to,
Yes.
but I do intend, getting into that one as well.
Yes.
Uh, and I don't know why. got that little calling, but it'll happen. It will happen. Everything happens in a timely manner.
Mm.
And not only that, my internal antenna is pretty switched on. From an early age, I could tell when people were lying. I knew what they were up to. I could read their body language, and that still is there.
Mm. And so,
And
this is my understanding too, that dowsing, as you rightly say, when you work with this art form, and I do feel it is an energetic art form,
yeah,
that you get clearer and clearer with your own antenna because it really is an extension of you, and it's
that's
just
right.
it's so much easier to work with the tool to get that sort of bridge going with your intuition, your your neutrality, not your consciousness. You're not working with your consciousness, you're
No,
working with the neutrality, so that you're not swaying the outcome or the answer one way or the other. You're getting the truth coming through.
yeah.
And then, yeah, so that sort of gives you the clarity that you need going forward. How do you use dowsing in your own life? Can you tell me a little bit about, I mean, are you waking up and every minute of the day you're doing dowsing, or you've got to the point where
No,
your body just knows, and because you've trained it so well?
my body just knows, and it knows. For example, you used supplements as an example. Okay, I need the weekend off. I need a week off. I'm not to touch this. My body just knows. So my dowsing generally is for when I do client work
Yeah.
and help them clear a lot of stuff. That's when I really get into it, and it's quite interesting because when I do the dowsing and the pendulum is spinning like crazy, all I get are glimpses of what's there. It's flying so fast, and I can feel it going through generations, through lifetimes. And I can feel when it's really murky and really painful. But I don't get all the specifics because that's not relevant.
Mm. And so that's what I wanted to ask you next is, you get the sense that it's clearing a lot of stuff. Do
Yeah.
you, when you're doing this work, do you feel it ever affects you, or do you have a clearing process that you do afterwards that, you
I,
do so?
I, I don't take anything on. It's just the way it works nowadays. I don't take on other people's energies. I've got my own shields. They're up all the time. And it's not that I don't like other people. I don't enjoy feeling people's misery and anger and so on.
So, for those people that would call themselves sensitives, or that they take on other people's energy and it sort of sticks to them, what would you say to people that have that mindset going on?
Well, rather than just putting in a shield as a form of protection, because that's often done in the space of fear.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. So my attitude is I treasure and I respect and I honor my energy. And so therefore, I'd actually put in an interesting opalescent type of shield. It's not from this planet, not from this world, it's extraterrestrial. And it's beautiful. And then I also, with that, it's not a complete shield. It reflects back to people what they give me. If it's a negative, if there's warmth and love, that's what they get back.
Yes, I love that. Yeah.
So yeah, because I've learnt the hard way because I used to get attacked a lot by very, very powerful dark entities and energies way back in the 90s. And I'm very good at removing them from people. I'm very good at clearing them from spaces, but they are not welcome in my field.
Yes. And I think that goes to say with your car and your house as well, because,
Yeah.
when we go out in public, let's just say we get like, we haven't been paying attention and there's a bit of stickiness, and
Yeah.
it comes home with us. That you've programmed your private spaces and your own
Hmm.
energetic field to have that that going on, yes? So
Yeah.
that you know wherever you move in the world, it's not moving from a place of fear. And I think that's probably the most important thing to remember with
It,
this
it
work. Yeah.
it's more about respecting the essence of who we are. You know, we are all sacred souls. And the more we respect that, the more we respect our car, all of the technology that we use, maybe, all of the plants that we, are interested in, whatever it may be. So we infuse our energy into everything that we do. And the more that we work with that right hemisphere, the gentler we become, but at the same time, we become stronger within. It's almost contradictory.
Mm.
And I'm still a work in progress, believe you me.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere because I did Bradley Nelson's work with Psych K, and they would do crossing hands and legs over to really unite the hemispheres using the corpus
Mhm.
callosum to unify the brain so that we're
Yep.
not using particularly one side or the other. We need the logic to make everyday decisions,
Yeah.
to work out mathematical
Hmm.
formulations, to build technology. We also need the creative aspect where we're
Yeah.
letting go, we're bringing through source through us.
That's
We're
right.
just the instrument, we're just the paintbrush for the paper. And it's good to know that we've got all of that.
We have,
And
yeah.
some people have an affinity one way more so than the other because that becomes their superpower, right? And what you're saying is really it's about balancing that out. And if you've been, you know, a lot um, left-brained is the word, you want to come swing back over to the right brain and actually start to use part of that to
Yeah.
balance out your life and get that.
I hear what you're saying because I remember going through that process of the right left hemisphere integration. And what I found then was just going easily from one to the other without being stuck in one or the other. That makes a difference. But I'm finding nowadays I'm everything that I do just about not 100%, but it's getting more and more right-brained. And the left, the mind serves the heart, not the heart. And, it's just like the
Yes.
heart is in charge, if you want to call it the heart. The essence, the soul essence is in charge. And it's a totally different sensation. And I
Mm,
think that's part of the process that we're shifting to as we move towards 12-strand DNA activation.
yes. Can you
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit when you talk about, because for those that may not know the 12-strand DNA activation, and some people talk about it being more than 12 strands.
Well, we can go up to 24 easily, but
Yeah.
depends on which level of consciousness we're at. Okay.
Yeah,
This
great,
is
great,
what I've
great.
learned from my non-physical friends. But
It's good
it
to
goes
hear
right.
that. It's good to hear that because I've had that teaching as well, and it's a little bit hard to wrap your head around because we've had for all throughout our schooling
Yeah.
we've been given textbooks to talk about a two-stranded DNA being, and that really that's all we are. So just talk a little bit for those people who've never heard this concept 12-strand DNA. Just tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that.
Okay, there was a bit of genetic manipulation about 4,500, four and a half, yeah, 450,000 years ago. That's right. I've got to get this right. And so we started off with 12 strands, but we were given, in the genetic manipulation, we were given two strands only. The other 10 were still there within our biology, and scientists used to refer to that as junk DNA.
Yes.
But I remember channeling before 2012 that the activation, and I've read the research, which cites or shows firmly that we start off as carbon-based cellular structure. As we become more evolved, we change to silica, and from there we go to crystalline. So once you start going into more than two-strand DNA, you've got the silica, which strengthens you biologically, And then as you go into the crystalline, you actually become more of a light body. So here on this planet, the way things are at the moment, many of us are being activated and we're going way beyond the two. But while we're still in such physicality, we can only go so far. We can go up to the 12. There's no doubt about it. But
Mm,
once we go beyond the 12, our physicality starts to leave us, which means that a lot of our physiology and our physiological functions also have to change because even now, and I'm sure I'm not the only person saying this, there's less, I need less food. I'm not as hungry. I've got to have light food to an extent that I've never had it before.
mm,
So our bodies, as we're changing through the cellular system into the crystalline format, we are becoming more light bodies. But even into fifth dimensional entity functioning, we're still going to be physical.
mm,
But there will be changes that will show up in our daily habits and our daily functions.
mm.
We're still to experience them, of course.
Yeah, and my feeling is, and this is just coming through now, is that
Mm.
for those people that want to know what would you be experiencing if you're upgrading, right? And so my feeling is that sometimes it can happen where you get physical symptoms because you're having to clear a lot
Mhm.
of ancestral memory. You can get aches and pains because the fascia
Yeah,
it's the liquid crystalline matrix of the body, and the water is acting is
yeah,
conscious and and hydrating that fascia. So that's why another reason it's important to stay hydrated for that
yeah,
very reason. And then, my feeling is that our intuition really starts to come online. Our spiritual superpowers like telepathy and there may be an certain skills that you have, like we talk about clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, all these different extrasensory perceptions. So whether you see different things that other people don't see, or you'll hear other things. I usually describe myself as a clairsentience. Really,
hmm,
there's just this knowing that drops in, and it's
yeah.
unquestionable. It's like, oh, I just, you know. It's just that. But some people have all of it.
That's
I've
me.
and I've been visited a lot by like in my work at Yamundi, where I have a lot of people come through and visit my stall at Yamundi,
Yeah,
working with the tensor tools and that very, very high level light frequency that
yeah.
they manifest. Is a lot of psychic people coming along to find me, and yeah, my feeling is because, like you said, you shared an experience about dark entities, and there is a lot a lot of energy flying around at the moment. Do you want to talk just a little bit about that? Because I know a lot of people get a bit afraid, and I used to be very afraid of the unseen world. And as I've got older and wiser and more aware of my energetic self and how powerful we really are and all of that sort of thing, I don't have as much of that fear. But could you talk a little bit to that for those that maybe are a little bit concerned about the energy world and the unseen?
Well, right now, what's really, really heavy in the world is facing a bit of a battle or a struggle. Just recently, and I've had a lot of training in this, unfortunately. I went through a stage where I was removing really nasty things from people's energy field. But about just a few weeks ago, I was sitting at my computer and I looked down. My attention was drawn to this dark mass that was moving along the floor, heading towards me. Okay, I got some sage spray and off it went. But what I realized was it wasn't after me.
Mm,
It came to me because it needed to be cleared.
mm,
And for people who are psychic and intuitive, they will attract some of these things from time to time because there's this energy within this darkness, which is the pain of the planet. It's the dark history of our planet, and it needs to be transmuted into light. So it's not always after us. It's not always wanting to attach to us and make us horrible. It's more a case of let's see if we can just fill it with light, send it love, and if it's just there to be transmuted, there will be a lot of lost souls, those who've not crossed over, who in this energy will be seeking to cross over. I've just gotten that.
Mm.
So if we go into fear, it's not going to help us at all.
Mm.
And we have the ability to literally transmute them into a lighter space so that they can go on and do what they need to do.
Yes.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
nothing to be afraid of.
Yes, my understanding around all of that is that, we have thought forms, we have
Yeah,
ancestral entities, we have like I mean just so many variety. We've
yeah,
got, land spirits. If we,
yep,
cut down trees and take their home away, they're going to be a little bit jacked off. But I think the key thing is that, just the unseen world is just like the seen world, and we've got to
yeah,
respect that even though we don't see it. That we, when we walk into a forest or a national park or something, and
yeah,
just blessing, saying thank you for allowing me to be here, and I honor you, and any energy that's here, like the life of the tree and the life of the spirits that might live amongst the trees. I think that's maybe my Irish background where we still believe in leprechauns.
you do absolutely. And the little folk,
And
yeah,
fairies. And I think
yeah,
that's the key thing is that, when we're little, we actually see so much more than when we get older and
yeah,
we forget these magical things. And it sounds a little bit woo-woo, but I think more and more now people are starting to realize that
yeah,
there's so much more that the seeing eye,
yeah.
sees.
May I share a quick story
Please.
about that? Yeah,
Yes.
when I lived in upstate New York, I lived close to the Hudson River, and I was walking through the Vanderbilt estate, which was a beautifully wooded area. And I was walking with a friend, and all of a sudden I said to her, "Just stop for a minute. We've got to just look at this log." There was a lot of trees had been felled at some stage, and there was a one of them was a log. And she said, "Why are we stopping?" I said, "Just look at it. Just look at it. That's all we've got to do. Hold the space and just look at it." 2 minutes later, she shook her head and she said, "I would never have believed it. What the heck was that?" I said that was the trapped essence of the soul that needed to be released. Our presence here enabled it to dissipate because it was trapped. And even to this day, many years later, she still talks about it because she said she had never seen anything like it. Everything on this planet, whether it's plant or animal or insect, has that essence, and we tend to forget it.
Mm,
And it's so precious.
mm. That's beautiful. I think that's just about having reverence for life in general,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it
Yeah.
is. But
Yes.
we learn it through our experiences.
Yes. And I think it's important to bring it back to our remembrance for those that may not have heard these conversations before. There might be a lot of people that would tune into this conversation and go, "Oh, yes, I know what they're talking about," and some people may not. But
Mhm.
my feeling is because we've gone down the path of the age of information, the age of
Yeah,
technology, that we need to remember the age of Aquarius, the age of enlightenment, and the energetics to
yeah,
this reality as well. And so when we're sort of doom scrolling or emailing or all these sorts of things, it's distracting our attention and our energy away from seeing other things. And my feeling is that's why it's good to have a really good break from it, because it allows us to keep our imagination, our creativity open to be able to see and tune into other things that we wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily do if we're
Well, as as
distracted.
Nikola Tesla said, everything is energy and frequency.
Mm,
Everything has a vibration. And once we become aware of it, we can no longer remain unaware.
mm. I love that.
Yes,
Mm.
so do I. Okay.
Well, you've been so wonderful having this
Oh,
conversation today. I'm sure we could talk and talk and talk, but I would love to keep it sort of around about there. Is there any last things that you would love to touch on or share that you didn't get a chance to?
the only thing I would say to anybody listening is you are the master, the director, the driver of your own destiny. And you can choose to have a lot of challenges, or you can choose to enjoy what you experience and see the value in the choices that you have made as a soul before you contracted into your body. It's really
Wonderful.
important. Everything that happens is of our own creation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that taking full responsibility for our lives,
Yeah.
right? Not putting the blame elsewhere outside of you. It's really taking
Yeah.
in that this is the era that we're in, is this self-sovereignty, but it means self-responsibility as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So now you've written books and
Yes.
you work with clients. Are you taking on new clients? Are you,
Mhm. Yeah,
yes?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. I
People want
don't.
to reach out. Oh, you've got a website that we can share?
Dynamicenergyhealing.net, but it's really, really old and I need to upgrade it.
That's
But it's,
okay, as long as they can reach out to you. So we'll give them
yeah,
whether it's an email or a phone number or something where they can reach out to you. So that's amazing.
yeah.
And tell me, with regard to the dowsing, do you teach or do you have a course or like how,
Well, I have taught a lot of workshops. If you go to upstate New York, just about everybody is doing dowsing the way I taught it.
you're famous? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Well,
Mm.
I would love to maybe second you into doing something. But we'll let that little seed get
Yeah,
planted and we'll see what germinates, hey?
we will indeed, yes. And I trained as a teacher, I trained as an educator, so it's not as if I'm new to it. I've been doing it for so long.
Mm,
But
great,
yeah,
great.
so it's been a delight. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Bente. I look forward to more conversations.
Ditto. Catch you. Thanks a lot.